Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama,
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare
Rama, Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Once more, together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Once more. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. So we welcome all the devotees for today evening's Srimad Bhagavad Gita class. Is my voice audible? ನನ್ನ ಧ್ವನಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಹರೇ ಕೃಷ್ಣ, ಈಗ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಓಕೆ, ಹರೇ ಕೃಷ್ಣ. ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಗೀತಾಮೃತ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಆಲ್ ದ devotees for this Sunday evening Gita program. So today we have a very special guest, His Holiness Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Maharaj. Hari Bol. So Maharaj has come here to give us association. So Maharaj is actually from Russia. He was born in Tashkent at a time where Russia was under communist rule, and nobody was allowed to practice any kind of spirituality at that time. It was an atheistic country, and even in the schools and colleges, atheism was propagated. So at that time, Maharaj was studying his microbiology in a college, and somehow by will of providence, by Krishna's grace, he came in touch with Bhagavad Gita, and he got very much moved by reading Bhagavad Gita, the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. And then he started exploring the message of Gita, and then he got in touch with devotees, and very soon dedicated his life to the mission of propagating the message of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. ಸೊ ಮಹಾರಾಜರು 1980ರಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಭಗವದ್ಗೀತಾ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿತು. ಆಗ ಅವರು ರಷ್ಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ರು. ರಷ್ಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೂಲತಃ ಅವರು ತಾಷ್ಕೆಂಟ್ನವರು. ಅವಾಗ ಯಾವುದೇ ಧರ್ಮದ ಒಂದು ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಜಿತವಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಅಂತಹ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಪ್ರಜ್ಞೆಗೆ ಬಂದ್ರು. ಭಗವದ್ಗೀತಾ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿತು. ಭಗವದ್ಗೀತಾ ಓದಿ ಅವರು ತುಂಬಾ ಪ್ರಭಾವಿತರಾದ್ರು. ಆಗಿನಿಂದ ಅವರು ಇಸ್ಕಾನ್ಗೆ ಅವರು ತಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನವನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸುಮಾರು from 1980s onwards, Maharaj is practicing and propagating this message of Bhagavad Gita. And in 2001, Maharaj accepted sannyas. 2001ರಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಸನ್ಯಾಸವನ್ನ ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸಿ ಇಡೀ ಜಗತ್ತನ್ನ ಸುತ್ತುತ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಧರ್ಮ ಪ್ರಚಾರವನ್ನ, ಭಗವದ್ಗೀತಾ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮದ ಪ್ರಚಾರವನ್ನ ಅವರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ರಷ್ಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಮೆರಿಕಾದಲ್ಲಿ, ಈವನ್ ಇಸ್ರೇಲ್ಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಹೋಗಿದ್ರು. So he goes to all the places, and we are fortunate that Maharaj is here today. Maharaj also served in the capacity of governing body committee, which is the topmost body of ISKCON. And Maharaj is very expert in giving the message of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and all the Gaudiya Vaishnava literatures. So today we have the fortune to associate with him. So let's welcome Maharaj. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ಮಹಾರಾಜರನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಸ್ಕಾನ್ ಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸೋಣ. ಒಂದು ಬಾರಿ ಹರೇ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಮಂತ್ರವನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿ. ಹರೇ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಹರೇ ಕೃಷ್ಣ 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 ಹರೇ 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 ರಾಮ 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 ಹರೇ ಹರೇ. ಸೊ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ವೋ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಮಹಾರಾಜ್ ಪ್ರವಚನ ಆಂಗ್ಲ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದೋಸ್ ಹೂ ಕಾಂಟ್, ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರವಿಲೋಚನ ಪ್ರಭು, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಗುಂಪಿದೆ ನೋಡಿ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೈ ಎತ್ತಿ ಮೇಲೆ. ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಕನ್ನಡ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಸರ್ಕಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅವರು ಅನುವಾದ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ದ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಷನ್. ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಇಂದ ಕನ್ನಡಕ್ಕೆ ಅನುವಾದ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಹರೇ ಕೃಷ್ಣ.
ಓಂ ನಮೋ ಭಗವತೆ ವಸುದೇವಾಯ. ಓಂ ನಮೋ ಭಗವತೆ ವಸುದೇವಾಯ. ಓಂ ನಮೋ ಭಗವತೆ ವಸುದೇವಾಯ. ನಾರಾಯಣಂ ನಮಸ್ಕೃತ್ಯ ನರಂ ಚೈವ ನರೋತ್ತಮಂ ದೇವೀಂ ಸರಸ್ವತಿಂ ವ್ಯಾಸಂ ತಥೋ ಜಯಮುದೀರಯೇ. So tonight we will read, I was asked to read 54th verse from the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is the question by Arjuna. And in one sense, it's Arjuna speaking. Arjuna is asking questions. So naturally, when we speak about Bhagavad Gita, we expect Krishna to speak. But Bhagavad Gita is a beautiful book. Even the questions by Arjuna are very, very significant. And I will try to explain how and why it is so, an example of this particular verse. So, Arjuna Vacha Stita Pragyasya Ka Bhasha Samadhistasya Keshava Sthitadhi Kim Prambhasheta Kim Asita Vrajeta Kim Arjunovacha Stita Pragyasya Kabasha Stita Pragyasya Kabhasha Samadhistasya Keshava Samadhistasya Keshava Stitadhi Kim Prabhasheta Stitadhi Kim Prabhasheta Kim Asita Vrajeta Kim Kim Asita Vrajeta Kim Arjuna Vacha Stita Pragyasya Kabasha Samadhistasya Keshava Stitadhi Kim Prabhasheta Kim Asita Vrajeta Kim. Translation Anuvad. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak and what is his language? How does he sit and how does he walk? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As there are symptoms for each and every man in terms of his particular situation, similarly, one who is Krishna conscious has his particular nature, talking, walking, thinking, feeling, etc. As a rich man has his symptoms by which he is known as a rich man, as a diseased man has his symptoms by which he is known as diseased, or as a learned man has his symptoms, so a man in transcendental consciousness of Krishna has specific symptoms in various dealings. One can know his specific symptoms from the Bhagavad Gita. Most important is how the man in Krishna consciousness speaks. For speech is the most important quality of any man. It is said that a fool is undiscovered as long as he does not speak. And certainly a well-dressed fool cannot be identified unless he speaks. But as soon as he speaks, he reveals himself at once. The immediate symptom of a Krishna-conscious man is that he speaks only of Krishna and of matters relating to him. Other symptoms then automatically follow, as stated below. Arjuna Vacha Sthita Pragyasya Kabasha Samadhistasya Keshava Stitadhi Kim Prabhashita Kim Asita Vrajeta Kim. Again, translation. Arjuna said, O Krishna, O Keshava, what are the symptoms of those of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? And what is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk? Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yantah pravishya mama vachimimam prasuktam sanjeevayata kila shaktidarah svadhamna anyam shahasta charana shravana tvagadim pranannamo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam swasyastu vishwasya kalak prasidatam dayantu bhutani shivam mithodaya manascha badram vachata tadokshaje aveshyatam no mati apyahaitu ki. Hare Krishna. So I'm very happy to be with all of you this evening, and I will try to share some thoughts in relationship to this particular verse. Krishna explained to Arjuna that the main symptom of a person who transcended the power of material nature, who is basically free from the modes of material nature. The main symptom of such a person is that his consciousness is not merged into this matter. We ordinary human beings, bound by the laws of material nature, bound by our habits, by our attachments, our consciousness is there in the matter. We're always concerned about some material things, who will win general elections. I don't know if it's such a concern because probably Modi wins, but, but for some it's a big concern. But besides that, we have so many material considerations. What's going to happen tomorrow? What are the prices? Petrol prices? Water is shortage. Food is a consideration. Family matters. Job, whether I will get some good job. You know, there are so many, I was told yesterday, so many engineers are driving rickshaws now in Bangalore. So this is all concerns, valid concerns. We don't speak that it's not valid. It's valid. It has limited value. But Krishna is speaking now how to change our status. Krishna is trying to help Arjuna, and with Arjuna, all of us, to understand what is the transition, how the transition takes place, how we can change our status from somebody who is enslaved by matter. We are, even though we are spirit soul, we are spiritual by nature, we are souls, we are free souls, but we are totally enslaved by matter. When it's time to eat, we need to eat. When it's time to sleep, we definitely need to sleep. You know, the matter always dictates us. So much so that most of the scientists who are trying to study the nature of consciousness, they say consciousness is nothing but matter. Any sane person understands that consciousness is beyond matter. But scientists say, you know, that everything is happening in your brain. It's a very bold claim, and unfortunately, I don't have time to discuss this particular notion now. But what I want to say is that what scientists say has some truth in it. When they say that consciousness is a product of matter, they say it because we see regularly that our consciousness depends on matter. They bring us some chemical into the brain and, you know, we are unconscious for some time. And they say this is the proof. No, this is not the proof. This is only the proof that you are still in the conditioned state. You are still enslaved by matter. You are still influenced by matter. That's what it proves. It doesn't prove that there is no other people who are not dependent on matter. And basically, what Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna and all of us, how we can be free from the influence of matter. How we can be free from all these anxieties. How we can be free from all these worries. How we can be free from the pain. You know, we're so much dependent on the matter, and if something is wrong with our little finger, little pinky here, you know, all our consciousness will be in the pinky. We will only think about pinky, not about Krishna. You know, if something is wrong with our body, if something is painful, our consciousness goes there. Again, why? Because we're very much dependent on matter. And that's not good, because fear is coming. You know, if we're only totally, completely identifying with this body, it means that when the body is finished, we're finished. We will be dead and nothing will happen after that. And all these fears are coming, and so many other problems are coming because of our dependence on matter. Basically, that's the problem of Bhagavad Gita, the initial point of Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna found himself that he is ready to completely change his behavior, run away from the battlefield, be defamed for being very, you know, cowardly, that he defected, you know, he was ready to give up everything. Why? Because, and Krishna immediately detected it, because he depended on matter. He depended on subtle matter of our mind and on the gross matter of the body. And therefore, all the symptoms were there. They're described vividly in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna says, oh, my hands are shaking. And Gandiva is slipping out of my hands. And Srila Prabhupada says, why you're shaking? The shaking is the symptom of fear. And the fear is the symptom of dependence on the matter. When we completely understand that I'm not dependent on matter, that I'm eternal soul, and I will continue to exist after my death, and it doesn't matter what matter tells me to do. It doesn't matter. But because we're dependent, we have so many problems: psychological problems, physical problems, economical problems, all kinds of problems we have because we are so tightly identifying with the matter. And Krishna is explaining how to change this position, what we should do, what we're supposed to do. He says it's a process of gradually withdrawing your mind from the matter and concentrating your mind on God. So that's the process. It doesn't work miraculously. Krishna doesn't say, you know, here I will teach you the trick. Just, you know, mumble this mantra and everything will be okay. No. Krishna says it's a difficult process because we're too used to think about matter, but he says it's possible, it's doable. You know, you just have to withdraw your mind gradually from the matter by thinking about God. And it's very simple. You just chant the name of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Of course, you have to know who is Hare and Krishna and Rama. But still, the methods are there. You know, if we understand why it is necessary, then we can follow. And Krishna is explaining actually to Arjuna the science of spirituality. Srila Prabhupada again and again and again stressed this point, that Bhagavad Gita is a science. It's a science of God. And science means there is very rational, systematic processes with predictable results. That's what science means. I mean, I had some connection with science, so I can speak with authority. But basically it means that you follow something and you can predict the result. And Krishna is explaining how it is scientific, how it is, what we are supposed to do. And he says, basically, you have to change the focus of your consciousness. You have to change the concentration or target of your consciousness. Unfortunately, many people who are attracted to spirituality, who are coming to all these temples which are there in Bangalore or in any other cities, or basically, you know, all over the world, some people are attracted to spirituality. They don't understand that spirituality is the science. Basically, what is going on here, Krishna is speaking, spirituality is the science, and Arjuna understands this. And therefore, he is asking scientific question. Arjuna is asking Krishna, please give me very clear, 10%, very clear-cut definition of how I can recognize whose consciousness is not connected with matter. Because there are so many people who claim, I am avatar of God. You know, Srila Prabhupada once said that, you know, India, of course, now it's Bharat, has become the biggest exporters of avatars. You know, some other people, you know, Japan exports computers or cars, and America exports iPhones, and Germany exports, again, some cars, and India exports avatars. They're going to the West and they gain a lot of followers. And Prabhupada was actually paining when he was saying this. He was not deriding. He said, because these people, they try to make mockery out of spiritual science. Instead of explaining how spiritual science is rational, how it is completely scientific, and how it is the science of spirit, they just showing some miracles. You know, Krishna doesn't tell Arjuna, Arjuna, listen, I will tell you how to recognize person whose consciousness is spiritual. He is the one who gives you some vibhuti from his hand. At least I never heard this verse from Bhagavad Gita. Krishna doesn't give this definition. Krishna is very specific. He knows how to teach. And he wants us to know this science. Because he also knows that there will be so many people who will misuse it. He knows that there will be people who will take advantage of this, who will only try to turn the whole spirituality into some focus pocus, into some miracle making business. You know, there are some people who are, you know, doing all these miracles in a circus, and they are very honest people, because then they claim that they are avatar. And there are some people who are doing this focus pocus, you know, miracles, and they claim that they have some, they may have some spiritual powers. But the point is that never Krishna says that you should define somebody who has spiritual consciousness by the sign that he's doing some miracles. Patanjali Muni, in his Yoga Sutra, he says, all these miracles, all these mystic powers, they're distractions. They're actually bad. They're obstacles on your spiritual path. People think that this is the greatest achievement. If I become some miracle man and if I do some mystic power things, then it's very great. Patanjali Muni says, no, you're completely lost, my dear sir. You lost the track. You're not on the right track. You will be just going here and there and showing all these miracles. There are so many stories about this, but anyway, probably I will not go into this. My point is very clear. Krishna says, here is the real spirituality. Real spirituality is where your consciousness is. And that's why Srila Prabhupada called our society as society for Krishna consciousness. It's the society which gives you opportunity to change the focus of your consciousness, which gives you the scientific methodology by which you can change your consciousness and make your consciousness completely spiritual. And by making your consciousness completely spiritual, obtain the real spiritual experience. It's actually said in the third sutra of Yoga Sutra of Patanjali Muni. He says the first sutra, now it's time to speak about yoga, and then he says yoga chitta vritti nirodha, and then tadadrastu svarupa avasthana. The third sutra of the science of yoga, explained by Patanjali Muni, is that as soon as your mind is completely calm, as soon as all these vrittis, all these waves on the surface of your mind are completely cleared, then drashtu, you, the soul, the seer, the observer, drashtu, the somebody who has consciousness, svarupa avasthana. He changes his status. He is not anymore identifying with this body because this body is not svarupa. This body is kurupa. Kurupa means very bad looking rupa. Svarupa is a beautiful spiritual form which we all have, which the spirit soul has, but we can obtain Svarupa when our mind is completely calm, when the nature of our mind, which is now very disturbed all the time, without any reason, when the nature of our mind is changed. So Krishna explains the same. Krishna, of course, explains in much more details than Patanjali Muni in Yoga Sutras. But basically, the science is the same. Science is exactly the same. How to change the focus of your consciousness. And therefore, Krishna says, what is the sign of spiritual advancement? How you can recognize somebody who, when he claims that I'm spiritually advanced person, that he is right. And Krishna says, Achala Buddhi. Krishna gives this very clear understanding. Achala Buddhi, his intelligence is not wavering. Achala means it's steady. The man of steady intelligence, the man who has the goal and who can achieve the goal, and this goal is very high. The goal is spiritual. So that's the sign, that's the definition given by Krishna. And Arjuna says, how do I understand if he or she or somebody else has this Achala Buddhi? What is the clear signs by which I can define that this person has this immovable, steady intelligence? Of course, there are some external signs. If somebody is like, you can look in the eyes of a person. If the eyes is going, all over the place, you can understand probably his buddhi is not so achala. Or if he's, shaking and, running everywhere, probably his buddhi is not achala. But, some people, sometimes they can pretend. They can sit for maybe, 10 minutes. Are you convinced? Some people can do some sort of show to do this. And therefore, Arjuna asked, please tell me, what are the external signs? How can I visibly or very clearly understand if this person is a pretender or if this person is real? How I can understand if he is really spiritual and his consciousness is connected with God, who is immovable? Why somebody becomes achala buddhi? Why his consciousness becomes so fixed? Because he's connected with somebody who is fixed. Krishna is immovable. Krishna is immovable because, there is no place for him to move. He's everywhere. If you are everywhere, it's very difficult to move because you're already there. So Krishna is this immovable object. He is unchanging. He's also immovable because he's not changing. He is always young. He always looks like 16 years old. Of course, sometimes people, some artists who are not very knowledgeable, they make a picture of Krishna with some mustache, or sometimes even with beard. No, Krishna never had mustache or beard. He's a 16-year-old boy. His form is the same. He never changed his form. He is the same. When you see Krishna, you will understand that he is the same. So he's immovable. His name is the same. For thousands of years, people call Krishna God, Rama, Hari, the same name, same appearance, same look, same form, same words. Bhagavad Gita is not changed. In a university or college, when you have handbooks, the handbooks are changed every 10 years. Here we're telling you the ultimate truth. This is the ultimate truth about medical science. In 5 years, this truth will be completely changed. But Krishna's words are not changed. They're the same. Everywhere the same. They're the same in India, same in Russia, same in America. All people, they read the same things. So Krishna is immovable. Krishna is the same. And if you think about Krishna, you will also become immovable. And that's exactly what Krishna says, and that's exactly what Arjuna wants to hear. Arjuna says, please tell me by which external signs I can understand that somebody is really on a very high level of spiritual advancement. Because there is a very important reason why Arjuna is asking this. Spirituality requires some faith. Spirituality requires trust. Spirituality requires surrender. No matter where you go, will you go to mosque or you go to church or you go to this church or this temple or that temple, everywhere you will hear surrender. Any spiritual tradition is speaking that you have to really give up your false ego, the false independence, because we are not independent, and follow God. But because any religion, any spiritual discipline requires surrender, it's very dangerous. If somebody unworthy, who is not really worthy of being surrendered to, demands your surrender, and you foolishly surrender yourself, you will be cheated. This is one of the very great and very important lessons of Bhagavad Gita. Oh, sorry, not Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, Krishna speaks very clearly, speaks and shows very clearly that somebody who is spiritual, he is not exploiting anyone. but he does not allow to be exploited either. That's a very important lesson. We have to understand very clearly, because sometimes people are very sentimental. People say, yeah, I surrender, exploit me. Krishna says, you're a fool. You think I'm so surrendered, I'm so spiritual, and Krishna thinks you're a fool. Why do you allow to be cheated? We should not cheat anyone, but we should not allow anyone to cheat us. That's a lesson of Mahabharata, very important lesson. And Krishna says very clearly in Mahabharata, if somebody cheats you, if somebody behaves with you against Dharma, you cannot practice Dharma on him. He tells Arjuna, kill Karna. And Arjuna says, how I can kill Karna? He is without his weapons, and the wheel of his rath, of his chariot, stuck in the mud. And Krishna says, kill him. And Arjuna says, no, I cannot do this. And Krishna says, kill him, because he's a cheater. He's a cheater. He will not think about this. Again and again and again, Krishna repeats this thing. If somebody doesn't follow Dharma, you're not obliged to follow Dharma with him. This is actually how very dharmic, pious kings were defeated by those invaders who didn't follow Dharma. They were trying to fight with these invaders following Dharma. And they were defeated because they followed Dharma, unfortunately. And Krishna says, no, you shouldn't do this. Krishna says this, and Krishna says, don't allow to be cheated. Don't allow to be exploited. Don't allow to be taken advantage of. Have some dignity. Yes, we should follow Dharma. Yes, internally we should definitely know that we have to come to Krishna. But externally, we can adjust our behavior. And therefore, Arjuna is asking very important questions. That's the main theme from which I started my talk. Even though it's a question, what you can talk about question, he's asking the question. But the very question is important. Why? Because he's teaching us. Don't be too naive. Don't be foolish. Ask the proper questions. Investigate. Probe before you invest your face. Yes, ultimately we have to invest our face. Ultimately we have to invest our heart into somebody. It's very important in a spiritual path. We have to believe in some person, some saintly person. We have to follow him. The very word Shraddha, it's a very interesting thing. Shraddha in Sanskrit means, there are different explanations of what Shraddha, which is translated into English as faith, means. But one explanation is that Shraddha is the place where you invest your heart. Hrit is the heart, where you place your heart. When we believe somebody, we literally place our heart into him. We say, I completely trust you. I trust your integrity. I trust your purity, everything. You tell me, I will do what you do. It's very important in the spiritual path. But before you do this, you have to investigate. Don't do it foolishly. Don't do it blindly. Don't do it too quickly. Remember that spirituality is the science. And science means the process. And the process is you first investigate, clear your doubts. And then when your doubts are clear, then invest your heart, invest your faith into somebody who is there. And Srila Prabhupada, very interestingly, Arjuna asked 4 questions. In this one verse, Arjuna asked 4 questions. He says, Sita pragyasya ka basha. Please give me the definition of somebody whose mind, whose intelligence is very steady. Ka basha means basically, tell me what is his characteristic. And Krishna will tell in the next verse that Prajahati Yada Kaman, that somebody who doesn't have desires. And but interestingly enough, that even though Arjuna asks 4 questions, Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport only one question, gives the answer to only one question. And he says that if you know this answer to this one question, everything else will be known to you. So the 4 questions which Arjuna asks, the first question is, what is the definition? How you describe the person whose intelligence is steady? And Krishna says, here is the description. Somebody who doesn't have desires. And Arjuna says, no, it's not practical. How do I know whether you have desires or not? You know, you may be dressed in a very nice Vaishnava dress and in Kantimala and everything else, but still the desires will be in your heart. So it's not a very clear definition. Definition is very clear, but it's not very practical because it's very difficult to use. And then Arjuna says, Stita pragyasya kabasha samadhi. Yeah. So he says, tell me, you know, how I can understand if person is in samadhi or keshava. You know, you are in his heart, you are keshava, you know everything. But kim basheta, how he speaks. And Srila Prabhupada, he says, this is the most important question, and the answer to this question is also the most important. We can understand what is in the mind of the person by listening how he speaks. Of course, sometimes people speak lie, but even this we can understand. If we're a little perceptive, if we're a little, you know, clever, we can see, you know, and there are some courses which teach you, you know, if person is just, you know, speaking something and he's not very comfortable, then he's speaking lie. But Srila Prabhupada gives a beautiful definition of how to define somebody who has spiritual consciousness. Listen what he speaks. Listen how he speaks by any other subject matter and bringing this subject matter to Krishna. You know, Srila Prabhupada was very expert, was a very ideal example of this sort of, you know, person, because with Srila Prabhupada, whatever you would speak with him, he would inevitably, you know, bring the conversation back to Krishna. You can start with any subject matter. Srila Prabhupada would inevitably, somehow or other, will make some philosophical point connected with Krishna, or will speak something about Krishna, and people always amazed. His disciples were amazed. You know, there was one little story, and Srila Prabhupada was walking in San Francisco, in a park. There is a beautiful Golden Gate Park in San Francisco where the devotees started this Ratha Yatra and everything, the kirtans there. And early in the morning, Srila Prabhupada is walking, and he stops under one tree. And under this tree, there is a lot of, you know, stool of birds under the tree. The, you know, the signs that the birds are there. And Srila Prabhupada points out to this stool of the birds and says, what does it mean? You know, what does it mean? It means that birds eat something and then and then they have stool. What does it mean? And Prabhupada's followers, disciples, they're very puzzled. What does it mean? You know, in ancient Rome, in Roman Empire, there was a method of divination when you can make some predictions about the future by observing the stool of the birds. So some more knowledgeable disciple, they think Does he mean some, some astrological thing? Does he see the future by looking at this, special patterns of the stool of the birds? Anyway, nobody dared to give answer to this question. What does it mean? And then Prabhupada says, it means that even birds are attached to this tree. He brings it back to the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. He says it means that the same birds are coming to the same tree and making stool under the same tree because they're attached to this particular tree as their toilet place or whatever. So anyway, so this is how it is. This is just one little silly example, but Srila Prabhupada was exactly like this because his consciousness was fixed on Krishna. When our consciousness is not fixed on Krishna, then it's very easy to distract us. It's very easy, we strike some conversation, we start speaking about this, cricket match. What is the cricket match now? I'm not into cricket, so I don't really know. But, your consciousness immediately goes to this cricket match or this thing or that thing. But if you think about Krishna, then you will speak about Krishna. And then whoever will speak with you, you will immediately speak about Krishna with him, no matter what the initial conversation would be. So Srila Prabhupada says that you can recognize somebody who is spiritual by the way he speaks. And if he's speaking, and you immediately can feel it. If somebody is speaking with realization, then it's you can feel that there is something which penetrates deeper. You can hear the same thing so many times, and then somebody repeats something which you have heard many times, and you realize, yes, that's true. Now I understand this is true. So this is a very beautiful science, how Prabhupada explaining very practically, with this practical example, how you can understand who is really spiritual. I will tell you another very funny little story. This is the story which one sannyasi told me. He went to Bhaktivedanta Hospital in Mumbai. There is Bhaktivedanta Hospital, which is run by devotees of ISKCON. It's a nice hospital. And after that, it was discovered that there is some gallbladder stones in his gallbladder. And he came to Srila Radhanath Maharaj, who is behind this project of Bhaktivedanta Hospital, and he started complaining. He said, your disciples, Maharaj, your disciples, they found out that I have stones in my gallbladder. And Srila Radhanath Maharaj looked at him and said, Maharaj, it must be Shaligram Shilas. And this sannyasi told me, it's not possible to change the subject matter with him. He always he always brings it to the point of spirituality. So this is exactly the point which Srila Prabhupada actually makes in this purport. You just please listen very carefully. Before believing anyone, the sign in whom you should invest your trust, you will recognize him by listening. Listen again and again and again. And if you have doubts, listen somebody else. And try to come to the level when you have no doubts. You listen somebody and you understand that's true. Because actually, in reality, and Srila Prabhupada explained it many times, when we speak about Krishna, we are not supposed to speak on our own. We're speaking on behalf of Krishna. We're repeating his words, we're elaborating on his words, we're basically speaking on behalf of him. So, and it is explained that Srimad Bhagavatam, whenever Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken, it was spoken by Krishna himself. When Shukadeva Goswami was explaining Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaja Parikshit, it was Krishna who was speaking through Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaja Parikshit. When Narada Muni was explaining Srimad Bhagavatam to Vyasadeva, it was Krishna who was speaking through Vyasadeva to Narada, through Narada Muni to Vyasadeva. Anytime when the spiritual discourse is taking place, it is supposed to be Krishna who is speaking through the speaker, depending on the purity of the speaker. And if the speaker is pure, if the speaker is really speaking from his heart and trying to repeat the same philosophy without changing, without twisting it to his own interest, then you will recognize it. As much as Arjuna, he is listening to Krishna, and Krishna didn't show him universal form in the 11th chapter. But before the 11th chapter, in the 10th chapter, Arjuna says, "Oh, I understand your God. Please prove to anyone else. But I understand your God. Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, your Pavitram." He's glorifying Krishna, saying that you're the most pure, you're Param Brahman, you're this, you're that. How he recognized it? Before Krishna showed his universal form, just by listening. Just by hearing how Krishna speaks. And that's the proof, not the miracles, not any kind of, things which some other people trying to show you to prove that they're divine. The divinity of a person is defined by the way he speaks. So that's the very important lesson from these verses of Bhagavad Gita, from this verse of Bhagavad Gita, and from the explanation which is given by Srila Prabhupada. Spirituality is the science of God, and science means rational understanding of the causes and effects, the ultimate result to which we should come, and how the process works, and how we systematically can approach Krishna by following the path which was shown to us by previous acharyas, by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thank you so much, Maharaj, for the wonderful session. So I think we all really took us into the depth of what Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna and how Arjuna has to understand it. So now, if there are any questions, then I request devotees to Maharaj, we can take one or two questions.
Sure.
So, yes. ಯಾರಿಗಾದ್ರೂ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇದ್ರೆ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಕೈ ಎತ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ನಿಮ್ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆನ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಇವಾಗ.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, thank you so much for this beautiful in-depth explanation of this verse. My question was that when it comes to speaking, one may actually just learn some tricks, some logic, right, and try to connect everything to Krishna without the realization. So then how do we basically understand
Therefore,
that?
you should not only listen when people speaks when he sits on Vyasasan. When you speak on Vyasasan, of course you will speak something nice. Listen how he speaks outside of Vyasasan. What he's interested in, and what is his focus and everything else. Vyasasan, yes, that's a certain format which we have. So Vyasasan, yeah, anyone can can say something. But in reality, you should observe. Being observant, you will understand where the consciousness of the person is, where it is invested.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. I think there is one more question there.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much for the wonderful class. Maharaj, you said in the beginning that all types of problems are because we identify too much with matter.
Yes.
In regards to the pain in the body, and our focus naturally goes there even if there is a small pain. So I just but as age progresses, as the body ages, we start realizing that if we don't take care of our body enough, then it will affect our sadhana and our seva and everything else. So and we may not be at that spiritual level that something is paining, but still no, we may not be able to focus in our chanting and things like that. So how can we strike that balance?
There is a very great difference between taking care of the body and being obsessed with the body. Taking care is normal, it's proper. We have to take care. We're taking care of our car. We're taking care. It doesn't mean that we become identified with the car. We have to take care of the car. We have to take care of our house. And we have to spend time. Taking care means spending some time, spending some energy, spending even some resources. That's not a problem. But, people who are identifying with the body, they're probably, at least many of them, they don't take care of the body. They're exploiting body. They're trying to exploit body for their sensual enjoyments and this and that. It's actually those people who are not so much identifying with the body, they take care of the body. Those who are not identifying with the body, they don't take care of the body, they just exploit body. So there's nothing wrong with with taking care of the body.
Thank you. So there's one more question this side.
Yes.
Prabhu, you want?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. And you probably just touched the tip of the iceberg. I know there is so much more deep into the verse that you have taken, Maharaj. The question that I had was, I see there are many other organizations outside also. But how important is it that each organization should have a scriptural reference to their philosophy? How important is it, Maharaj?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much. That's a very important question. When we look in the history, in the recent history, particularly of India, we can see that in many cases this scriptural basis was neglected. Unfortunately, sometimes people were overly emotional, were too much emphasis on the stories and this and that. If we don't have the very strong philosophical foundation of our belief and practice, then inevitably we will be lost, we will be deviated. And therefore, this is the glory of Srila Prabhupada. He was preaching to hippies, people who are not very philosophical and definitely not very sattvic. Some people who were loitering in the streets of New York and San Francisco and this and that. And even for them, he was speaking philosophy because he knows how important it is. And he taught his followers, if you want to speak from the book. Speak philosophy, follow strictly, quote the book, learn the verses by heart. And this is the way to not to be lost, because the scriptures is the guiding light. The Shastra is the guiding light. There is no other guiding light. Krishna himself says, Yah Shastri Vidyu Srija Vartate Kamakarataha. Nasasidima Vapnati Nasukham na Param Gatim. He speaks in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. If somebody rejects scriptures, Shastra Vidhi Utsreja, if somebody doesn't follow strictly Shastra Vidhi, the rules of the Shastras, Nasasidima Vapnati, they will not have any perfection, they will not have any success in life, Nasukham, they will not obtain any happiness, Naparam Gatim, and ultimately their ultimate destination will also be unclear. So everything should be based on the Shastra, and Shastras are revealing some truths which are not revealed anywhere else. That's the definition of Shastra. What is Shastra? Shastra is speaking something which is not realizable or understandable by your own intelligence. It gives you some information which is outside of the range of your logic and experiment. And therefore, it's very important when we're talking about spirituality, we're talking about the path, the clear path is the path of Shastra. And therefore, we should know Shastra, we should learn Shastra, and we should hear how others speak Shastra and how others explain Shastra to us. That's very important. So thank you very much. And if somebody neglects this, or, there are so many groups like this, yeah, that's not so good. What can I say? It's just it's watering down the tradition. We are the followers of the greatest tradition, the most amazing literary tradition, which reveals so many deepest secrets of life. And neglecting Shastra means basically neglecting this great rishis and munis who were at the the founders of this Vedic tradition. So, and that's those people who don't stress Shastra, they do a lot of disservice to humanity, to their followers, and to Vedic culture.
Maharaj, one more question.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the inspiring class, Maharaj. Maharaj, I had two questions. The first one was, you spoke that a Krishna conscious person does not cheat anyone and does not allow anyone to cheat us.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you can elaborate a little on this, because mostly in the working environment, people quote selected verses from the Bhagavad Gita, and they tell doing our duty is the prime importance rather than devotional service.
Yeah, there are so many interpretations. The problem with interpretations is that at one point of history, the science of proper interpretation was lost. A few centuries back, actually probably more than 1,000 years back, people were very clear how to interpret Shastra. There was a very elaborate science of interpreting Shastra. But because now people don't know how to do this, somebody quotes this verse or somebody quotes that verse and try to overemphasize the point of this verse, do your duty and bhakti is not so important. Yes, you easily can be cheated in this way. But the remedy is, when people misquote or when people, overemphasize point which should not be emphasized, the remedy from this is to know the context. One of the most important rules of proper interpretation of the Shastra is to know the context from which this particular quote is coming. If you take out, cut out the previous verse, this verse, then then you can easily be cheated. There is beautiful story about one Muslim who was saying that in Quran it is said, drink, eat, drink, and be merry. And he was always saying, I'm following Quran because in Quran it is said, eat, drink, and be merry. And then he met with some scholar of Quran, Mullah, and he said, I'm following Quran. What you follow in Quran? He said, eat, drink, and be merry is there in Quran. And Mullah said, but the next line is that eat, drink, and be merry, then you will go to hell. And this person said, no, nobody can follow the whole Quran. I follow this particular verse. So, when people cut something from the context, then for sure that you will be misled. And therefore, before understanding, coming to conclusion what Bhagavad Gita is all about, read till the last verse when Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajama mamekam sharanam vraja, and then try to understand the whole thing. And of course, try to find somebody who knows systematically the scriptures. But otherwise, yes, unfortunately, this science of proper interpreting Shastras is to a greater extent lost.
Hare Krishna. So Maharaj, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the wonderful class, the wonderful question and answers. It was so clear, it was so endearing, and it was so lucid. Thank you so much, Maharaj. So is there a question? So you want to ask that question? So can we take a question? Okay. So go ahead, Prabhu. I think this is the last question that we'll take. So thank you. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the wonderful class, Maharaj. Maharaj, you were mentioning about the trust part thing.
About what?
Trust.
Huh?
Trust.
Huh.
So, I have observed is generally after reading Prabhupada's books, many people start immediately trusting. So they know, Prabhupada is telling lots of, the facts from the Shastras. So they immediately trust. And but some people still don't trust. They try to keep away. You know what everything is good, but still they wanted to keep themselves away. They don't want to take the next step and completely trust. So how to we can discuss or deal with those kind
Can
of people.
somebody repeat to me the gist of the question?
Some people don't get that faith and trust even by reading. So how to deal with those people?
Some people don't get trust even by reading books. Some people are mistrustful by nature because they were betrayed many times, especially if their parents were not so good, or because of some childhood traumas. Some people are very, very mistrustful. There's no doubt about it. And it's just their nature. But because internally we all have the quest, we want to find the truth. We want to find the person who embodies the truth. We want to find somebody who really is, guiding us towards the truth. Then if these people are sincere, they can overcome their mistrustful nature. Yes, there are people it's very hard for them to trust anyone. There's no doubt about it. Many of such people, especially because of Kali Yuga, so many times we were betrayed or, let down by other people. But, if the desire to find out the truth is very strong, then this mistrustful nature could be replaced, could be overcome. That's the only question which I can answer, which I can give. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you once again, Maharaj. Thank you for the wonderful class. So like they say, all good things will have to come to an end. So today's session, we are coming to the end of that session. Now, I just request all of you, as a token of expressing our gratitude for Maharaj, let us all chant once the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra together loudly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much, Maharaj. So one more thing, I just want to know how many of you here are coming for the first time. ಮೊದಲನೇ ಬಾರಿ ಯಾರೆಲ್ಲ ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಕೈ ಎತ್ತಿ. So okay, thank you so much. So ಇವಾಗ ಈ Sunday evening ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ, that is Sunday evening, every Sunday evening we have this program called as Geetamrita, where we have kirtans, then we also have a small discussion on the Bhagavad Gita, and then after that then the Arati, and then the Japa that we have, and then of course the feast. So I would urge, request each one of you to make this opportunity, take care of this, make use of this opportunity, and then attend our Sunday evening program. Okay, so thank you so much for attending. Now you can have darshan, and then after that, then we can move towards the Prashadam hall. Thank you so much. So we'll take that. I just saw that.